Hallo en hartelijk welkom auf die Fresse, die VXV review podcast in English. I'm Ian Hamilton, joined with Mike Kilby. And Mike, how's it going?
Oh, it was good. I say this every single episode, so a bit of a broken record, but we are thundering towards 16 carat. So um, there's only really one show between there and here and there, so it's a very exciting time of the year.
I'll be doing the review podcast probably back into next week, maybe just out before everyone flies out to Germany. But yeah, a lot changed. Obviously, when we recorded last, they dropped that big bombshell. Carat was going to be for the title. We're going to talk about that weekend show in Bielefeld. A little bit about the fight forever and a few bits and pieces, but get going on the stuff what's going to be happening after Carat. So they announced WXW. They're going to be partnering with APC. They're going to be doing Fight for Paris 3, March 19th at the Studio Gianni in Nanterre, just outside Paris. We've got some matches announced, but on the post, you've got Menahan, Shikahiro Irie, Norman Haas, Ahura Page Tahani, Amal, Blanc, Rick Salem, Thiago Montero, Cure, and A-Book, which that's quite a WXW slanted lineup, just going for matches they've announced, but clearly the type of APCs want WXW like hopping the border into Paris.
Yeah, and they're not, the quite a lot of the APC guys and girls have sort of crossed the stream, should we sort of say? So in a way, it's kind of what I actually almost think that the WXW and APC partnership is kind of exactly what all of the partnerships should really be like. And it helps that France is 20 not that far from where WXW is based, and that probably does help. But you kind of think that pretty much everywhere, barring maybe Kuro and A-Buck, they're people that people would at least have some sort of knowledge of if you've kind of watched everything from WXW. So yeah, it's the Fight for Paris shows that they're not always necessarily my sort of thing, because they do kind of exist in their own little world, but they are good fun things, and I think it's one of those things. If I was in Paris, I'd be right on that. A bit expensive to go there at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, anything short notes. This came about a week's note, about a month's notice, I should say. And yeah, especially right now, it's maybe not a go, but if you're in around Paris or can get there without it costing you an arm, a leg, and a kidney, definitely worth going just from the rosters out there. I mean, Christ, Irie on the WXW side of things, not very often he's on that neck forwards. I know he's doing something of an extended tour, but having him in WXW outside of Carat weekend is a bit special.
Yeah, it's great. And not even necessarily like a Fight Forever show, or no, sorry, not Fight Forever. It's not even like a We Love Wrestling card like a week later. It's a it's a good couple of months after, a good couple of weeks after. So he's sticking around, which is great stuff.
Speaking of after Carat, Fan 2023 Fan Appreciation Night. I think we reported a few shows back. It was going to be held at the Alma Park Fight Club in Gelsenkirchen. That's all changed. Basically, the German MMA Championships. So they host. Basically, we've both been there. Where the mini market hall, we called it. We've got the big MMA cage there, and they were going to take that out in the space. We can put a ring up. Well, the GMC had a show the same day, which allowed them to have that space. Turns out the first choice of venue fell through. The backup choice fell through. So they're back to Gelsenkirchen. Luckily for WXW, the Turbine Hall's free. So what they are going to do is the Fan 2023 show will happen at the Turbine Hall, and also the Academy show that they were going to do is like a matinee thing is also going to be at the Turbine Hall, which I think was Strigger mentions a bit serendipitous there. The whole thing of during the pandemic they were doing fundraising for the Academy with the goal of having an Academy show at the Turbine Hall.
Yes,
that kind of went by the wayside. It was more a case of it wasn't realistic at the time. That's people to want to just donate for tickets to the Academy, that kind of thing. And lo and behold, you've got an Academy show at the Turbine Hall. Whether it makes tape or not, I don't know. I think they said they're both going to be back to back. They're not going to chuck people out like we do Carat weekends. So things like 4 o'clock and 7 o'clock, and we'll just run one onto the other. So we'll see if any of that makes tape. But certainly, it's a very roundabout way to get that goal barrel after a few years back.
Yeah, I had tickets to that show.
Me too.
Yeah, yeah, no, exactly. Great opportunity, and not that WWE doesn't really give opportunities to the academy guys, but there's always, yeah, it's a if you if you just started out and you got an opportunity to knock off the T to being in Harlow, what better option than that, really, is it?
And
So yeah,
again, special of the evening show. Who knows? You've got your gear if something falls through. You know,
exactly. It is a bit of a disappointment because I think I did see quite a few people who were kind of a bit disappointed because the main reason they chose to go to Fan was because they wanted to watch something in that new venue. So I think there's a bit of a bitter note to that. But at the same time, yeah, it's T2. It's a great venue, and say it's good to have that sort of in your back pocket, which you can sort of use whenever you need to. So
yep. So obviously we can do the Carat preview next week after, but just a quick run through as we record this. Inner Circle sold out, 200 passes. So if you wanted the catch-all tickets for every show, tough luck, it's gone. There are festival passes, so that's rows 4 and 5, and that'll just get you into the Carat shows. Night 2 of Carat sold out unless you go for that festival pass. But night 1, night 3, the WXW Now Showcase, Ambition, and Wheel of Wrestling 42 all have got tickets left. And speak for Dell, this was announced, 2 hours ago as we hit record?
yep.
Post for Wheel of Wrestling 42, and I'm just going to say, might have the logo on there, but I sure as hell don't have a book for this. Becca, Calypso, Amal, Anil Marek, Fast Time Mudo, Jacob Crane, Gully's Tuner, Psycho Mike, Adam Priest, Ilya Bloom, Jaden Newman, Leighton Buzzard, Charles Crowley. Hell of a lineup for what's the start of the last day of Carat. They're really packing that, at least
Yeah,
with names you wouldn't normally get.
95% of that lineup's really good. So yeah, well done.
Yeah. If I could take credit, I would, but
yeah,
let's say some shared tastes in that lineup. But also Carat, and again, say we do the full preview next week. They've changed some of the door times for shows. It's been updated on our website as well.
not much of a change really. It's
Yeah,
like about half an hour here or there, isn't it?
Yeah, I think what they said was because they was pretty much done a copy paste from the COVID routine.
Yeah.
And they're still doing the wristbands, so we don't really need to keep checking people's paperwork if it's just your ticket scans you in. So yeah, if you're looking for things, Ambition had used to be 45 minutes, now it's half an hour. So something to bear in mind if you're nipping out between shows. That McDonald's can get super busy.
See, the secret place now is the KFC at the Shell garage next to the Trip. That's the secret place. Oh wait, edit that out.
Well, it's not a Trip anymore, so I'll throw people off.
Yeah.
Speaking of busy, directly now they've been going really hammer and tongs of uploads.
Yes.
So pretty much everything since the start of 2021's up there. From Wheel of Wrestling 3, that's when they start doing these shows, on the closed set. Was it Wheel of Wrestling 1 was Carat 2020 weekend when they did a show in South of the Outdoors Curtain Holes one, wasn't it? Wheel of
Yes.
Wrestling 2. So pretty much everything from 2021 to now is up there, along with every single Carat since 2007 with English when they had it. When I checked, the first edition from January 2006 isn't up there, so if you want to see that Baron Van Hagen win, you're going to have to wait a bit longer. But yeah, they've really been going out of the way to make sure that anyone who wants to see the historic stuff in WXW,
Well, it's a
there
good thing
now.
to have up. Yeah, it's a good thing to have up because I think people maybe were subscribing before because I doubt that this is something that does happen, but people who are maybe Carat's coming up in a couple of weeks and they go, right, well, let's watch some of the things that maybe you haven't seen it before, and you go, right, let's go and watch through some of the old ones, and you've kind of got them all there. And I think it's as much as I probably disagree with it, it is probably the most valuable content they have. So with that in mind, yeah, it's good that that's all up there now, at least, barring the last one.
And I suppose it is worth noting, we did put out like a FAQ thing on the website during the week. Doesn't look like this year's Carat is going to be up live. We're going to be doing the usual turnaround time, which I know,
which is still astronomically it's usually the first show is up
as we're landing back home from Germany.
Yeah, well, it's usually Inner Circle's usually coming up when we're sitting and watching night 3. So
I mean, if you think you've got what 3 Carats, Showcase, Ambition, Wheel of Wrestling, and it's like 7 shows in 4 days. And
Yeah.
okay, it's gone are the days where they were recording on the handy cams, and was the catch his Dell laptop was running overtime during the processing, but we're doing the live mixing, but still we've got to patch it through, get it all rendered. But yeah, it's £10 a month or $10 a month. You're going to get your money's worth in March. That's all I'm going to say, just from Carat alone, let alone the back catalogs and whatever else we're going to add. So, well worth subscribing. And again, we will go through that. One last thing while we're talking about Carat, best wishes to Jørn Simmons. It was announced this
Yep.
morning he's been pulled from Carat. It was after the Bielefeld show. He tweeted of it. He, basically was rushed to hospital after he'd gotten home, I think. Um, Being diagnosed with appendicitis. At the time, they said was touch and go for Carat. Well, decision was made today. Wasn't going to be, risking it or pushing through it, which, for the best. He's been replaced by Mike Del Vecchio from Belgium. I think he's a former GWF Berlin champion. I want to say.
Yep.
Pretty big name in Berlin. He's also done Bodies Oil in APC. So
he's currently actually across the road. He is the wrestling cult champion. So he is doing double duty that weekend because he is fighting Satoshi on the Saturday morning. So he's in town, and kind of makes sense to get him in, I think.
And he's got Tristan Archer on a Friday night, so no rest for Wicked, hey?
Exactly.
But best wishes to Jørn, and like I say, health always comes first for these kind of things. There'll be with other cards, but if you push through that kind of thing, you do more damage. Who knows? But
yeah, and I think it was probably there's probably an element of you could probably rush it, and it probably not do so good, or you stay off for 2, 3, 4 months and back for the summer. I think you got to look at it that way, really.
So that's the quick bits of news, and I guess we've got to do this, even though there's not too much to add. It's Oscar Watch, and not much going on for him since we last recorded. A couple of tag team matches with Toru Yano losing to Great Khan and Aaron Hanawi, including one at the New Beginning Osaka on February 11th. Most recently, though, he's popped up in All Japan. Japan's been weird, we've had the whole, Kaiji Muto time and stuff all cross promote. Yeah, back for the next few years back now, everyone's on everyone else's shows. So he actually won at Korakuen Hall today, was it? Yeah. All Japan Pro Wrestling teamed with Rene Abe and Shuji Ishikawa, not to be confused with Ishikawa, who did Ambition in 2020, beating Toru Yano, Tako Omori, and Black Mensore. Oscar's not got anything on the docks anytime soon. As we current is at the Fantastica Mania tour with CMLL. He's doing ringside stuff. He's not wrestling, which, again, big lad around a load of flippy guys that kind of jazz a little bit, so he's off there. He's not also on the New Japan Cup, so they've slimmed the field down, and all years gone by they have young lions in there. It's been slimmed down a bit, but he's not in the brackets nor on any of the early cards, so I guess it'll be popping in maybe a little bit later in the term when we do the preview tags, but yeah, change is as good as the rest, and certainly he's had that over in All Japan, even if it's a familiar venue.
Yeah, and I say I think there's a lot more collaboration going on. I think that was always speculated that was going to happen once the sort of the pandemic was mostly out of the way, wasn't it? They think that was something that they was kind of agreed on, that they was all going to be working together, and this is obviously part of it, isn't it? So
I mean, you've had a few big shows over 2 Tokyo Domes. You've had the Yokohama shows for Wrestle Kingdom stuff. It's another podcast entirely, but good to see he's getting around. It's not just the same old names and faces.
Yeah, exactly. And working as many different people as possible is the best way to get better.
It's the whole point of going up through this. You face a lot of different names and faces, and I guess may as well transition to Fight Forever. We'll go through this quickly. They uploaded Fight Forever on YouTube in 2 halves. So it's kind of a push from DirectW this month to have a stream every Monday. Now, what do you think of the way they did this? Because obviously it was using StreamYard. Spoiler, we aren't using StreamYard this episode. It's been a bit janky, and they did have a few stuttering issues on there. Like, Space what we're doing, we had Met Damasi and Mark Shuttle doing, like, in front of a webcam, like hosting, for a better word. They pitched the video in. I know the first batch of matches they put out, there's folks going, it's weird because, you can, Mark's saying you can see him on the feed, but then he's also commentating like it's live. while Met was commentating like, oh, this was a few weeks back. So, I mean, the second half was no such issue, like they kind of got on the same page, but
I think there was possibly a bit of cross wires, really, more than
yeah,
anything else.
it didn't hurt anything. I think it was one of those things where they're clearly trying different things out of Fight Forever. I think the first one was every single match was individual and we're through, in parts. And I think it's the kind of thing they said Fight Forever is going to be, I hate using this C word, content for YouTube. So we're going to try different formats out and see what works. I mean, Maggot had a whole interview with him on Monday in German. They're doing their own character preview this weekend. So this Monday. So
there was the Dreisker thing the other week.
We're pretty much patching. We did the whole Norman Harris thing as well, where it's interviews that would go on to the VODs, but because they're not super time sensitive, it's not like, oh hey, Levaniel, you just lost. Oh, we're meant to put this in the middle of a show, that kind of thing. It's a good use. I mean, I know we touched before about how
the sort of thing everyone should be doing, really.
I know we touched
every promotion should be doing this sort of thing, to be honest.
I know we touched on it before with the WXW YouTube. The whole, is it German, is it English, that kind of thing. I know, I did see a few people comment, oh, this is in English, it's no good for me. And then the Maggot thing, they had to say it's in German. It's always going to be a bit of a poison chalice, especially, you're doing one live stream. You're never going to, be all things to all men, but certainly it's better than the majority of promotions are doing, where I think the most I've seen is, throwing up a preview show, whether it's, people officially with promotion or not. But as for the card, what do you think? Say there's a few names we've seen in places not in Germany, but I thought it was pretty decent and a few eyebrow raising moments as well.
Yeah, for sure. I think the Fight Forever shows very much are, here's some of the guys that were on the show the day before, and we got them in to do a few other things just for YouTube. And obviously, I think some of the plans had changed, obviously, because of Dreisker's injury.
Yep.
So, the Greedy Souls kind of ended up doing a bit of singles stuff, which is fine. They're both perfectly capable of doing it. Danny Jones and Lawrence Roman, I thought was a really, really good match.
Likewise, 6 minutes. That stunned me when I looked at the time checks. Like, what, 6:28?
Flew by, yeah. And Tisha Suji, like I said last time, if I was booking Suji in WXW, I would have given him a match with Guns and given him a match with Tisha. That's what you would have just done, and both of them, I thought, really, really, really held up for it. The one I sort of had, a bit of pride in, I think, I suppose, is Justin Daniels. We've both mentioned it before, but so we, as far as I know, that we both saw his debut match, at least in front of people. In the space of 4 years, I think, he's gone from the Big Sean to WXW. Absolutely brilliant.
To another.
He's really, really sort of filled out. He's got a great look now. He's a big hoss, and there was a bump that there was sort of a shoulder barge sort of thing he did to Ilya Bloom during that match, where it was just like knocked him halfway across the room, and
the headbutt.
Yeah, the headbutt. Sorry, yeah.
And Matt said it's like he's 19. I mean, again, we both had a Big Sean for his debut.
We watched him when he was 14.
14, 15. It's like saying, this the thing. Like it started a bit rough, but by the end, it's like, holy hell, he is a good big lad for 19. But it's that whole weird thing of debuted at 15. Had the pandemic, so that took a good 2 years off, and everything with the Irish scene being upended to really putting a short hand. So he's a guy who, if you go by numbers, has been around for 4 years. Not really have that many matches. I don't even think he's got a cage match still. But he's over in Germany doing Fight Forever stuff. Guys, Britain, tell me please how, and I've said this before, this feels like it's my blooming mantra at this point. How have you got guys on these shows that WXW can pick up, and then Britain is just like, it's this land that's been airbrushed out when it comes to scouting. Like, you've got Justin Daniels. He's over the Irish Sea, for crying out loud.
It's the whole Alan Partridge thing where, unfortunately, it's a Glenna scene, but it says, it's people say they always want to go to Dublin, but it's only 50 quid on Ryanair, and Partridge goes. Obviously, that's what puts me off. It's almost as if that's what they live for. That's the motto of British promoters, British promoters, and so back in admittedly, there's things have transpired since, but back in 2017, 2018, Ireland was the most exciting. The prospects coming out of Ireland, it was worker after worker after worker, much like what we've got coming out of Hungary in a way.
Yep.
And it was just mind baffling that the only people that really got over here were more than hype. And I think one or two people booked Michael May, that was it.
Yep.
And it was just mind blowing. It was mind blowing, and even with the. Sorry, this is a bit off topic now, but you look at someone like OT2 who's now running in Wolverhampton in the shadow and corpse of Fight Club Pro. They're not really booking the Irish people still. It's just basically the British guys that OTT was booking anyway. It's just how someone like Justin Daniels hasn't stumbled onto a Riot Cabaret or a
Attack,
NGW,
Modern Nomad, that kind of place. Yeah.
NGW and North. What? How he's not ended up in one of them? Tidal, something like that.
Yeah.
How he's not ended up there? It's
Soft
bizarre.
Pro.
What?
Sovereign Pro, Manchester, pretty close. Yeah. So we'll quickly go through. Peter Honey beat Brendan White just under 8 minutes. Massimo Pesca beat Maria De La Rosa. Ava Everett over Kia Dream. Of course, just talk about Axel Tischer against Yota Tsuji. For me, that was my match for the night, although it got the time was maybe starting to get a bit too long of a tooth, but heck.
I preferred the shotgun match myself personally. I think just simply because I think once you start going over 15 minutes, you have to really be justifying it.
229 syndrome.
Yeah.
Oh, that's me not getting worked in 2 weeks. Fast Time Mudo beat Anil Marek in just over 10 minutes. So, yeah, Marek's still looking for his first win. Illy Bloom over Justin Daniels in main event. Alice Inc. over Who in just under 20 minutes. That one definitely could have done some time being cut out. But again, it's the whole thing of Who getting that the push. But also, you've got Alice Inc. Women's Champion not going to win unless was not going to lose, should say. Unless it was going to go long. So, yeah, it was one of those matches I really could have done been a lot short, but I had the reasons for doing it. So, and again, it's content for use of a low C word. Anyway, what we were talking about, the Wheel of Wrestling 41 Road 16 Carat Gold. Of course, last episode, they just dropped the whole thing of Norman Harris saying that Carat was for the Unified World Wrestling title. So that meant Levaniel had to qualify for 16 Carat Gold.
Yes.
And hey, wouldn't you know it, there was a Road 16 Carat Gold tournament that weekend with one of the qualifying matches not announced. And yeah, we'll go through match by match. So first qualifying match, Levaniel beat Mikhail Schenkenberg in 10 minutes and change. Perfectly decent, but again, it's that whole thing of, if it was going to be a screw up here, it wasn't going to be first match from the card. Who beat Alex Duke? Decent, but again, if that was Alex Duke's debut, so again,
TV sort of debut,
Illy Bloom beat Anil Marek in just under 9 minutes, and they're really hitting you over the head with Anil hasn't won, he hasn't won, he hasn't won. I sense something's going to kick off soon with him.
I really liked this one, actually. I thought this was, in a way that it kind of doesn't. It feels unfair to say this because Bloom, Marek was only been really out for a year, but it almost feels like two generations of. It feels like two generations of academy graduates here in this match, and I know Marek only sort of came out sort of start of
pandemic,
2020, start of 2020, but it kind of felt like almost like a generational sort of battle in a way. I thought this was a really, really nice one. That one it was probably the pick of the first round matches anyway.
And it's a match for absolutely going to see, down the years, whether it's feature events. I mean, in both these guys are fairly young in their careers, and knock on wood, injury willing. That's I can see that being. I don't want to say Tanahashi Okada level stuff, but definitely like a generational, that kind of thing where they're going to keep
It's not
going
going to be
back
the
to
last
that.
time that they'll fight again. I
No.
don't think.
And then Fast Time Mudo, last first round match, beat the master of robotic lawnmowers, Heisenberg, in just over 6 minutes. That surprised me, I'll say. I honestly thought Heisenberg was at least
Yeah,
going to make it for finals, but again, they seem to have. I don't think he's even on the character list for next month. So again, they face people in and out, but yeah, big surprise considering Mudo's trajectory lately.
he's been a bit hot and cold, Muda, really, hasn't he? Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Baby Allison and Maggot submitted Jacob Crane and Abe Everett. I thought this was an absolute riot, and the whole Jacob Crane came out with pretty bastard shirts to try and
Yeah.
troll Maggot and Allison, and the finish. I mean, you said yourself on Twitch this afternoon. It's basically
They have a inverted.
it's like it's a motor lock. I think is the
Yeah,
hold Allison is, but then Maggot lifts her up. I think they've done it once before, but like as a tag finisher,
they
and
did
it's
it.
effective.
The last time I remember them doing it, and they've probably done it since, was during the We Love Wrestling show at Carat last year, but it was possibly with Heisenberg. That's the other thing I kind of wonder.
I'd
Yeah,
have to go
it's
back, but yeah, definitely remember. It's not the first time, but it's also not being done all the time where it loses all meaning, that kind of thing.
it's a great finisher. It's just so cool, and it's not something you see. I can't think of I've ever seen anybody else ever do it, and it's a bit of a no-brainer of a
Yep.
move, really. If I was working in over in America, I'd be nicking that. Like
We'll
if
see,
you know if
see
you're in
what
the if he was in
GCW
the
soon.
if he was in the the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship thing, I think that's a thing. I'd be nicking that for sure. Great move.
And it's not exactly something overly taxing unless you're taking the
No,
hold, but
no,
you just tap out quickly. That's the beauty of it. It's meant to
no,
make you tap quickly.
exactly.
Jens Simmons splits past Massimo Pesca. Again, decent match, but again, in hindsight, it's almost like they were using this to underline Jern as maybe a massive favourite for Carrot. Oh well.
I thought
But
Pesca got a lot more offense than he.
they really like Pesca, and it's not just because of his music. Like that's a guy who I think. So I think back in last year he started popping on the shows. Was it the it's like the Ostdeutschland Cup.
Yeah,
You can
yeah,
hear the clacking now because I'm like for not for finding this stuff out. But he did obviously like the academy shows and all the rotations. Rotations chatting. Yeah, the Niedersachsen Cup in Wolfenbüttel. He
yeah,
he popped up on. And he's been around a lot of the academy shows. He's been on some of the quote unquote filler shows. He's a good find. I think it's just a
yeah.
case of getting him. It was a Balkan show. Him and I'm blanking on the name now. Uh, it was Safar Amin and Pesca. It was like
Yeah,
two guys, unadvertised match before now called, and the crowd really warmed to Pesca. And like, bear in mind, he was the good guys who his whole point was to get reactions.
yeah,
Really bodes well. I think it's one of these things where it's a case of have him on the shows, have him be competitive, but not blitz through, not taking the wins which people wouldn't expect him to. Don't push him too hard, that kind of thing. But we've got something in him. I think it's just waiting for a spot to open up that he'd be, I want to say, competent in, but one would actually fit and not just be let's shove him down your throat kind of thing.
yeah. He's just one of these many people who are just sort of Shrier's another guy. He's a little bit further on in this card, but he's another guy. He's there. He's not really had his spot yet, but he's kind of always going to be around the card. I think that's kind of an element of that, really, with Pesca, isn't it?
It's a healthy undercard. It's not just the same 3 or 4 guys in the same spots.
Yeah, for sure.
Bobby Guns beat Sebastian Suave in 12 minutes. So this is Suave is I don't know. I think it's the head of Smash. I think over in Canada, and he's had that persistent relationship with Norman House, which got a lot of continuity there. This was a lot more competitive than I thought it was going to be. Bear in mind, Suave's not been around for a few months at very least. But yeah, Marvin held his own against Bobby Guns, but the end game was Bobby Guns beating Norman's latest lackey. and that set up as something at the end of the night. Lawrence Roman beat Nick Schreier to keep a shotgun belt, as we said. Decent enough. Wasn't a tomato can, but Schreier not his time yet. And then the final, Ahura qualifies for 16 Carat Gold. He pinned Ilya Bloom. Last time moved and Levaniel also in the final, and of course the finishing bit, Norman Harris stopped Levaniel from breaking up the pin. So I guess it's a good show, like the whole storyline throughout, self-contained. Um, Selfishly speaking, they kept that whole threat for Screwjob over Coward Weekend
Yeah,
away. No, because I just know some people when we
it was a
announced the whole
big
thing,
fear that I think everyone was.
yeah,
The path was so clearly marked out, and they've not done the obvious thing, which I suppose is good. Good on them.
yeah. And
I
it does
think,
mean that the field for Carrot is literally wide open, because now it's not even a case of
yeah,
who's
you
going to be
can't.
there to have a title shot. It's who's got any future dates, that kind of thing.
You can't. You can't. Because I think if Levaniel had been in that tournament, you would have bet your house on him getting to the final, or at least
Yeah,
getting to the final day,
yeah.
possibly against Atisha, and then you're like, oh god, I know where this
Because
is
there
going.
have been pointing at, and weirdly, Levaniel is not listing any of the Carrot materials. And again, we'll do the preview next week. We'll see, because we've announced 4 matches so far. We're going to announce 4 more, so we'll see where it lands. I know there's some ambitious stuff to go, but yeah, Levaniel very conspicuous by his absence.
Yeah, but then there's also there is the promoter doesn't like Levaniel, so why would the promoter put Levaniel on the poster?
True. Speaking
So
of the
like
promoter,
what?
he's making his own big comeback against Bobby Guns.
He is, yes, in the main of. Well, we understand it at the moment. It's probably the main event for Saturday, isn't it?
They've not announced where it's going to be, because obviously we've also done arrows against the French doors. But again, a lot of the non-tournament stuff hasn't really settled on a place on the
Yeah,
card. I would certainly expect both of those would be, night 2 material.
yeah.
Whether
I would.
one's main event or one was like first half main event, but all I'd
Yeah, I
say
would.
is Angle Alert, maybe.
Yes, I think so. It's looking towards that. I don't know. A lot of this is possibly something for the next episode. Really, it's
Yeah.
some. It's been set up for some point, and I think we'll maybe look into the ifs and buts a little bit more closer to the next episode. I think.
So then we go through to, well, yeah. So as far as Bielefeld, really solid show. In terms of like the Bielefeld or the pre-Cartons could easily be like the 16th guy who you wouldn't expect to win Cout. Well, Naval Field's blown up, but a good show. It's obviously on WXW now beyond the W Network shortly, I'd guess. But yeah, let's through upcoming shows. We've got sacking in. Is it what 2 weeks? 2 weeks tomorrow, Friday. Well, not Jörnson's anymore because they still need to be updated. But Jörn v Tristan Archer was announced for that show, and funnily enough,
Yeah, that's the cursed main event, isn't it? Because
yeah,
it was no, sorry, no, it wasn't. It was meant to be Levaniel versus Dreisker, wasn't it?
yeah, and
So
then
that's 2 matches which have had to hastily crossed line through from
and
that show.
interesting, and again, I don't know whether they rejigged the first round lineups. That would have been a first round match in Carrot as well, based on what's come out. But also in the card, Levaniel Axel Tisha, Ahura against Maggot, Baby Allison against Calypso, and Ava Everett against Becca. They're loading that up for a town that, let's be honest, I don't think any of us had heard of before it was even announced for the WXW show.
It's across it's on the Swiss border. Basically, the Bad Sackingen is the you could throw a baseball probably out of the front of the venue and hit Switzerland. That's the sort of place I think it is. So
So
it's
then, after that, of course, got Couch, so March 9, Gelsenkirchen, be sold out on the Park Fight Club for Inner Circle 13. No matches announced yet. Maybe we'll announce, well, sold out, so there was no tickets to sell for. And obviously, Carrot, we've got preview next week, so we keep saying. March 19th, for WXW versus APC Fight for Paris 3. Matches announced as Metahan against Rick Salem, Kate Tahani against R1 Pro Gamer, and Amal against Tiago Montero, which decent. they haven't announced a Fight for Powers Cup again this year, which maybe that's to come. But no, the show they did last year was some non-tournament matches, and
Tournament,
then
yeah.
yeah, like the 4 singles and a 4-way final. So we'll see. But then again, this would be what, a month before, after we did the Bielefeld tournament with the same format. So who knows? Then March 25th in Frankfurt for 16 Carat Gold Revenge, Margaret Allison, Levaniel, Justin Archer, who Baby Allison, Axel Tish on the poster. Uh, April 15th at the Event Hall Airport in Over Travelling. It's a non-televised show. Axel Tish against Metahan's been announced for the main event there. And then April 22nd, the Stromberg in Dresden for True Colours. The Vaniels, Sense of Ultra, Eigel Blanc, Axel Tischer, Paige Tahani, Baby Allison, Margaret Ava Everett, and Lawrence Roman, Dover, Nicholas Van Boss, all in the lineup. So, yep, got a stacked lineup going into Carat. Maybe a few hints what's coming afterwards, but we say we'll be talking all about Carat, and the show will be dropping before everyone hops on a plane to Germany. But yeah, strong Bielefeld, pretty good fight forever. Both Bunderbucks was YouTube.
Yeah.
And I guess before we awkwardly drag it out anymore, Mike, anything else to say before we sign off for the week?
No, I think I think this is always going to be a bit of a bite-sized one. I think we were going to call it bite-sized Bielefeld, but I don't know if we were now. But yeah, it was a sort of it was a really neat sort of. It was a really I see you now changing it on the document. It was a really neat little show actually, and a nice little taster. It kind of just feels a bit of a shame that it's not really anything between now and Carat, really, is there?
Yeah, I mean, you always get this pre-Carat lull where it's like, we've got to have the final show done. Then there's the 2 weeks. I mean, I know Mark Shuttle again tweeted today that so no etching was all being prep and warm up and preparation meetings for Carat. The pool starts at B 24/7. They'll probably be furiously getting the LED boards ready and all that for Carat. I mean, what? I mean, 2 weeks today will be, getting up either in or heading to Germany in the circles 2 weeks tomorrow. So yeah, it'll be here before we know it.
Yeah, exactly. It's if you've not got your euros, you might have to start looking for them.
Yeah, especially me. And I got some change for the weekend, and yeah, that exchange rate ain't good. That's all I'm gonna say. But
Yeah,
so yeah, I'll wrap it up. I think just touching about 40 minutes. So say bite size show. We'll be back weeks or so's time for full card preview. Can follow us at Alfie Fresse Pod on Twitter, at Big Back Body Drop, at Ian Wrestling Mike. You're at Mike Kilby and everything.
Mike Kilby on everything.
Just at Mike Kilby, not Mike Kilby and everything. Too many characters, I guess. But
Yeah.
so take care, folks, and we shall see you in a week or so for the card preview. Cheers.
Cheers.